The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome to this week's installment of MARC and the Midday. I know every week I say we've got ourselves a special guest, but this week we've got ourselves an extra special guest. For our first time ever in the show's history, we have ourselves a Hall of Famer. We have with us Ferguson Jenkins, who is a baseball legend and Hall of Famer. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jenkins.
Hi, guys. How's everything?
Oh, it's just great to have you here, Fergie. You know, the one thing, I met Fergie last year at Billy Staples' thing out on the in Pennsylvania on the Foundation, Scholarship Foundation. And Fergie, you have a foundation yourself, and it's a pretty big deal from what I understand and what I've seen, actually. How's that work?
Well, we started it in 1994 with one golf outing for the Red Cross. And now we've probably had maybe over the last 10 years, 3 golf outings, about 40 different charities.
Oh my gosh, that's unreal.
Now, Fergie, your foundation is kind of like charity agnostic, meaning that you pick and choose the right venues for where your dollars that you raise go to, correct?
Yes, we support on the U.S. side and also on the Canadian side.
That's big. Well, the one thing I want to ask you, Fergie, and I'm just talking to you about it, is the fact that your numbers, I never looked at your numbers before, and I said, oh my gosh, I said, this guy's a stud. I said, good grief. You threw over 200 innings 8 times, and then you threw 6 times, you threw over 300 innings. I said, my God, what's the DNA up there in Canada for that? I said, that's off the chart.
Well, I pitched 4,500 innings in 18 years combined. I just like to play. I think the nice thing about it is management gave me that opportunity to pitch, and I took advantage of it.
Of course you did. Yeah. Have you done the fantasy camp down there in with Huntley this year again?
I'll probably be doing the one in Columbus, Ohio, and I just got through with Randy Huntley's was in January in Mesa.
Okay. Right. That was a big deal.
Well, the camps are fun. The camps are a lot of fun because you get a lot of businessmen that like the game of baseball.
Yeah, of course. And then one thing too is I noticed that you might be going back out to the scholarship fund again this year for that. And I know we have a lot of fun with Ray Burris out there as well. He's one of the big guys that I like to hang around. You know.
Yes, Ray Burris still works for the Philly organization, and I'll be working probably this summer for Billy Staples again. Come in. Probably July in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Yes, yeah, of course. But hey, you were talking about the blisters that you used to get every once in a while. I know, I did the same thing, and I pitched through them. And you were talking about the sandpaper. What was that? You were talking about the sandpaper part.
Well, I use sandpaper a lot to file down blisters. So the callus wasn't going to form a blister. And if I did get a blister, I used super glue. I don't think I ever missed a start with a blister.
Well, you got over over 600 appearances in the big leagues, and that just amazes me the numbers that you had and the longevity that you had. But the other factor is what part did hockey play in your development of being a baseball player?
Well, I think I built my legs up playing a lot of hockey, and the stamina part of it I did from running. I ran all the time. What they call poles, line to line, right field line to left field line. That kept my lower half strong.
Do you what do you think about the running programs today? I know they have all sorts. Every organization seems like they're all different. And,
I think what they've done now, because of the fact that weights are so important, they have so many different machines that can help you strengthen your legs from cross country machines to stair steppers to different machines. There's different names for them, but I think that they're utilizing a lot of these different machines.
Yes, without a doubt. And I see. When I was talking to Tommy John, because we stay in touch with things. Of course, Tommy John has his new thing out, the Tommy John surgery, and that's been going on for years. And people ask me, they say, "Did you ever have Tommy John?" I said, "No, I never had Tommy John. I knew Tommy John, though." And the funny thing about Tommy is we're looking at all the other injuries out there right now. The newest one that I just saw was from an orthopedic surgeon talking to me a couple months ago, and he's talking about the 13 and 15-year-olds getting carpal tunnel from playing so much Xbox nowadays.
Yeah, there's so many arm injuries now. I think that doctors really have to look long and hard to figure out why so many of these young men are getting hurt. A lot of it's caused from nerve damage, and with Tommy John, he had the ulnar nerve was being affected in his elbow, so that's the reason why he had his done.
Yeah, and I know you've seen a lot of good hitters. I'm going to switch subjects a little bit, but I know you were with Aaron quite a bit, and you were in the National League, and then you switched over to the American, got traded over there to Texas and Boston. But you played with Jim Rice as well, didn't you? And Dewey?
Yeah, I played with Jim Rice and room with White Evans. Played against and with Freddie Lynn. So many of those good American League hitters in the mid '70s were such good athletes that they had fabulous careers and similar to mine, played 17 or better years in the big leagues.
No, you were with Jazz over there as well at that time.
Yastrzemski was playing left field for me, and then later on he went to first base. They moved George Scott, or they got traded him. But the nice thing about it is all these guys knew what they wanted to accomplish, and that's the goal. Basically, when you think about what they're trying to achieve.
Sure. Well, you've certainly seen some damn good ball players. You had how many times? I don't know how many times you faced St. Aaron before as well. You saw him when he was at his prime, or in his prime, and you as well. Did
11 years I faced Aaron. 8 years Willie Mays, McCovey, all these good hitters. I faced them quite a bit.
Yeah, can I manage?
Hey, Fergie, I got to ask you a question, because obviously you had an awesome season in '71 when you won the Cy Young when you were with the Cubs. But do you feel that your '74 season with Texas was even better than that season? I look at it that way, because the team the year before you got there was the worst team in baseball, and the year you get there, you helped get this team to the point where you almost beat the defending champion A's and win the division.
Yeah, we faced the A's, I think 12 times. We beat them 9. I beat them 5. I had 25 wins that year. I thought my standings for the Cy Young might have been a little bit higher, but Catfish Hunter outpointed me with first place votes, and he won the Cy Young, and I got the Comeback Player of the Year award.
That's unreal.
I actually thought that you should have got the MVP award that year, because the going from last place to close to winning a division, and you were the big ad for that team that year. I mean, so you had to have been the most valuable player in my mind.
Well, Jeff Burroughs ended up being the MVP that year in the American League, and Billy Martin was the manager of the year, and I ended up getting the comeback because of the fact that I think the year before I only won like 14 games, 73, and that's when I got traded for Bill Matlock and Steve Harris. So winning 25 games was a lot of fun. I mean, winning 20 games is fun, but when you get to the excess part of it, there were 4 or 5 games that I got shut out. I could have won 28 to 30 games that year.
Yeah. We'll have to win 14 games now, Fergie. You get $15 million a year.
Yeah, no, the game's all about the money. It's all changed now.
You win 25. You buy other ball clubs while you're playing.
Yeah, I won 20 games 7 times. That was a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you also won them 6 in a row too, which was pretty darn impressive. I think only Spahn won more 20-game seasons consecutively than you.
Right. I think he won it 13 times, 20 games. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was a freak of nature, so we won't even bring him up.
He was a hell of a left-handed pitcher. You're right.
Yeah, he absolutely was. Could you tell me the difference for playing between Billy Martin as your manager and Leo as your manager? Were they similar?
Whoa.
Were they different in any way?
No, they were like old school. Basically, when you look at Lasorda, and Dick Williams, so many of those older managers managed alike. Leo DeRocher would talk to us a lot. Billy Martin had the same theory, but the one nice thing about it is he gave you that opportunity to go out there and pitch, the confidence level. If he thought you were in control of the game, you stayed out there, and that's a big boost for a ball player. If the manager believes in your ability, you stay out there. I think that helps you control what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. No,
so you started out in the Philly organization. So we have a lot of Philly fans who listen to the show, and they always bring up that year of 1964. And I think about it because you came up the next year as a 21-year-old with the Phillies. As a 22-year-old, if a 21-year-old Fergie Jenkins was called up in 64 to play for the Phillies down the stretch, in your heart of hearts, do you think you make a difference and that team just wins that extra game or two, or even just gives those poor guys, Bunning and Short, a little bit of rest so that they could go out there and be stronger? Do you think that helps the team and win the pennant? And I know you're a modest guy, but be honest on how you feel about that, because I think you would have.
Well, I think that they had a lot of good young. They had Ray Culp on that team, and a few other guys. I think that it would have possibly helped. The bullpen was basically just Jack Bulshin. I was taught basically to really prepare myself for the big leagues to pitch in the bullpen when I was in Arkansas. I think that Rick Wise was on that ball club with me and Dallas Green. I think if Mark would have brought some of the younger pitchers up, that could have helped some of the older veterans.
Yeah.
I think Art Mahaffey won 17 or 18 games that year, and he didn't play him down the stretch, which was unfortunate.
I think it's the last week of the season he pitched Bunning and Short alternating every single game and burnt those poor guys out.
Right. I think he wanted to win those 3 or 4 games to cinch the pennant, but unfortunately it just didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And the Cardinals were as hot as could be, and I don't know if anyone could have held them off the run that they were on at that point.
Right. But the Phillies had a strong team. It's too bad that they didn't get a chance to play in that series. 64 would have been, I think, a stepping stone for them to win it a few years, because they were even better in 65.
Mm. Yeah. What was your favorite park to pitch in, Fergie?
Wrigley Field. Pitched there 10 years, all day baseball.
Yep.
My first ballpark was Connie Mack, a small little ballpark, and I didn't mind pitching there. Small ballparks make you think more, makes you concentrate, makes you minimize your mistakes.
And maybe that's why Boston got a hold of you, because they
Fenway too. Fenway, it was small.
Yeah.
I could turn around and talk to Yastrzemski from time to time because he was right there in my back pocket.
I almost felt when I was on the mound like I could touch the green monster with my hand. It seemed like, it's just.
Oh yeah, because it was a small ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah, in your face. And then, hey, you probably never have counted how many managers you've ever gone through in the big leagues. I know I'm not going to do it, but did you ever know how many you've ever gone through? I think I
had 10 managers.
Wow.
Started off with Gene Mock, then Leo and Billy Martin. In Texas, I had Corrales, I think Frank Lucchese, Don Zimmer, Billy Hunter. So there were quite a few. A lot of different managers.
Got to ask you this question because you had obviously a wonderful career of being a Hall of Famer at that, but when did you know it was actually over? When did you know that, okay, I got to come off the mound? It's just not going to happen anymore.
Well, in 1983, they put me in the bullpen basically permanently. I didn't have many starts that year. And then in 84, they invited me to spring training. Because I had talked to Dallas and I had a contract. I said, I'd like to try to get to the 300 game level. I went to spring training with the intentions of trying to make the ball club, but they had a youth movement, and unfortunately I didn't make the team and decided to retire.
Yeah. Did you have any other offers with any other franchises, or did you just want to retire a Cub because you felt like a Cub?
Yeah, I retired as a Cub. Let me see. I'm trying to think. Houston phoned, Pittsburgh phoned, and I think, let me see, what was another team phoned? I'm trying to think. Cleveland phoned twice. They phoned in 84 and 85, and I just said the fire's out, tired to retire. I'm home. I'm more relaxed at home now.
Yeah. Well, you certainly had just an incredible career. I mean, I never look at stats too much, but I looked at yours and I went, holy cow. My gosh.
Yeah, I put up some good numbers. Good numbers was part of what the game was all about back then, putting numbers up.
I think when you say that you put up good numbers, it's a little disingenuous. They were great numbers. And as a fan, I looked at those numbers. I mean, a baseball card collector, and I I was raised and born in New York, and so we saw you when you were against the Mets, or when you had to move American League, when you were against the Yankees, or on the game of the week. And I always thought, in my mind, the two pitchers in the National League were Jenkins and Seaver. And if you had either one of those, you couldn't go wrong. Just that Seaver just seemed to be in the right place at the right time, I guess.
Well, yeah, I think that some of the pitchers in that era, Marichal, Bunning, Short with the Phillies, Gibson with St. Louis, Gaylord Perry, Marichal, Koufax, guys. That was a pitching era in the early 60s and late 70s.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They had excellent pitching in the American League with Palmer and Lolich and so many guys. I mean, there were so many good pitchers in that 60s era and early 70s.
So you signed in 62. Were you 18 at the time when you signed, Fergie?
Yeah, I signed at 18 when I was right out of high school. Yeah, with the Phillies.
Yeah, and then 3 years later, basically you were in the big leagues at 22 then.
Right. I signed. I was out 6 weeks. It was my first season in '62, and then I got almost 2 full seasons from AA, AAA, A ball, AA, AAA, and then I got to the big leagues because I was turning 22. My birthday's in December. When I came to big leagues, I was still 21.
Wow. So the guy that found you in Canada, I guess, right? In Canada?
Right. Yeah. Gene DeJura was my mentor. He was an area scout with the Philly organization. He was a history teacher at the collegiate high school. I went to an all-boys tech school, vocational school. And he wanted to know, besides playing hockey and basketball, what I do in the summer. I said, I'm a first baseman. He watched me work out. He says, I think with that arm, you'd maybe become a pitcher. 2 years later, at 16, when he first seen me, because I turned 16 that winter, 2 years later, I signed a contract. I was 18 with the Phillies.
Okay. That's pretty amazing.
I just think that
right place, right time.
I just think if you would have chosen hockey, or if hockey had chosen you, you would have been a really intimidating defenseman to skate against, to be quite honest. I mean, with your size. Did you play defense when you played hockey?
Yeah, I was a defenseman. I played a lot of hockey as a kid growing up. That was my number one sport, and I thought that was going to win out for me. I always wanted to be a professional athlete. And when a lot of the scouts from the NHL came down to see our junior B team, I was always looking at some other youngster, and just didn't get I think the long, hard look. And my family weren't that well off, so I decided when the opportunity came to become a professional ball player, take the bonus money and become a ball player.
And as they say, the rest is history, and I think a fantastic move, obviously.
Oh, yeah, on my part, I made the right choice, believe me. The right choice.
Now,
you must have gotten a few fights as well with the hockey, huh?
Oh, yeah, I got in my share of skirmishes. Oh, yeah, I got roughing penalties, penalties for fighting. I tell people all the time there was only 2 black things on the ice, me and the puck. Yeah, there weren't a lot of players of color playing when I played.
Not back at that time in the 60s. I doubt it.
No, there was only a few, a handful at most.
Fergie and the Puck. So that's about it.
That's it. Yeah, right.
It actually took until 1958 for Willie O'Ree to come up with the Boston Bruins to actually break the color line. I mean, hockey.
Right. Yeah, he was a heck of a hockey player. He's still alive too. I met him in Vancouver, Willie O'Ree. Yep.
He does a lot of charity work like you do as well. I mean, he is a great guy.
Yeah, he's got a charity. He does a lot of work out west. I mean, he kind of motivates youngsters to play the game, which is smart. I think the nice thing about it is he stayed in the game and he enjoyed what he did.
Yeah, he definitely did. So everyone, no introductions, I guess, here because we're talking with Hall of Famer Ferguson Jenkins. The numbers, as Mark says, speak for themselves. And when you look at them, they're kind of daunting because, let's face it, you don't see people throwing over 200 innings today, and this guy regularly clocked in with 300 plus. My question is, why were you able to pace yourself and be able to throw 300 plus innings and come back and do it year after year? And guys today, if they throw over 200, they're useless for the next 2 years, and quite honestly, sometimes get arm injuries. What is going on with this game?
Well, I try to stay in shape. A couple of those years, well, 3 of them, I played with the Globetrotters just to do a lot of running on the court and stay in shape. But it could have been genetics. And another thing, I had a good windup. I didn't overtax my body from pitch to pitch, and I kind of had a relaxed motion. It wasn't stressful. And I tell youngsters, you have to find something that's going to be good for you so that will give you that opportunity to pitch a lot of baseball and to pitch deep into ball games. Because kids now, you throw 100 pitches, your day's done. I used to throw 150, 160 pitches to win a ball game. Or maybe as least as 100 to try to win.
But you know what, though?
The game's all changed.
I think the difference is your end goal was completing the game and shaking the catcher's hand, and their end goal is 100 pitches and I'm done.
Hey, you could be right, because Randy Hundley was my catcher with the Cubs, and I had Fisk in Boston, and in Texas I had Jim Sundberg. Sure, shaking the catcher's hand, man, that was a big thing, and I didn't do a whole lot of screaming or jumping around. Just come in, like the last pitch, if it was a pop-up ground ball, strikeout, shake that catcher's hand, and I'm glad the game's over, and I'll wait for another 4 days and go out there and get him again.
Yeah. Well, now it's 5 or 6 days they do it.
Yeah, they pitch once a week now.
Yeah, that's about right.
I got to say, it's about time for us to say thank you to Mr. Jenkins for joining us. And Fergie, even though I know you're capable of completing the game because you completed so many in your career, it's tradition on our show that we take out the starter and we go to the bullpen and bring in the tall righty.
Yeah. And Fergie, the way it's done, first of all, I want to thank Fergie for coming on because Fergie's a real special guy. But when we close the game out, Fergie, it goes like this. You throw peas at the knees, no pies in the eyes, no wall balls, and you'll be just fine. Thanks, Fergie.
That's pretty good. No, peas at the knees.
No pies. Don't throw peas at the knees. No